Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. A master plan was laid out to take the country of the Ukraine away from the Ukrainians. This evil genius of a plan appears to have been orchestrated by the American deep state henchwoman Gloria Nuland and is well documented in the film by Oliver Stone, Ukraine on Fire. In this evil plan, the American deep state, our own political representatives, our own government, will remove one very important freedom away from the people of the Ukraine. Government officials will remove the Ukrainians' ability to determine their own future. And going forward, it will be political cronies of the establishment who decide the fate of these once free people and not the people themselves. And what it appears that Nuland did, of course, with the backing of much larger men, with the backing of men who can move the foundations of nations and economies, backed by the globalist New World Order, is it appears that Gloria Nuland ran a comprehensive, brilliant, evil plan to attain full control of the Ukraine with the administering and controlling of election outcomes at the heart of this sinister plan. Her whole goal was to get control of those elections, and by doing that, she would determine the fate of a once sovereign nation. This comprehensive plan appears to have included the support of 3 Ukrainian TV stations that would distribute the propaganda supporting the globalist goal of attaining control of election outcomes. Also, it appears to have had included in it the use of street-level provocateurs using their actions to support whatever message was needed to attain control of Ukrainian elections. It also had a concerted effort to create division, ethnic division, amongst the people of the Ukraine so that they could never realize that their country was being taken from within. And finally, it also appears to have had the false malignment of the political opponents of the globalists. The devil lives in chaos, and chaos was implemented by this globalist effort on the people of the Ukraine. This culminated with the 2014 Ukrainian elections, and it is as if one could say that they were almost being run out of the U.S. Embassy with Victoria Nuland playing an instrumental effort. Outside actors were now affecting a sovereign country's political elections. And the question is, was this model for taking a country out by stealing its electoral system, was this model being used in other parts of the world? Was it being used in Venezuela, where Venezuelans mobilized a considerable patriotic activist effort to counter the communist downfall of that country, but to no avail? No matter how great the Venezuelans mobilized, they couldn't seem to stop the outcome of elections. They always went against the interests of the Venezuelans. Or was it being used in Afghanistan, where Afghanis displayed ink on their finger, proving that they voted, proving that they were taking a concerted effort for the betterment of their country, but to no avail? Despite the efforts of the Afghanis, their country fell into a lawless state. Was that same model being used over and over again? And was it being used here in Texas? Was it being used in Fort Bend and Harris counties at the local level? You decide. Well, let's take a look at Fort Bend and Harris counties. And then you decide if that same model was deployed locally here in the Metro Houston area. And we're going to look at Fort Bend County first. And in Fort Bend County, the following events happened. Number 1, the malignment of the pro-American Trump supporters, where a narrative was created that they were prone to violence. And this message was communicated by top Fort Bend County government officials. Also, KP George, the top county executive, the chief executive of Fort Bend County, ran a malicious campaign where it appears that he purposely misrepresented the people of Fort Bend, describing them as racist and ignorant. And then he leveraged local media to propagate this falsehood. Also, Fort Bend County officials initiated a medical surveillance campaign, and they did this at the overwhelming protest of the citizenry. Just like the Venezuelans stood up, the people of Fort Bend County stood up to this lawlessness. And they posed this medical surveillance campaign. But it appears, and in this medical surveillance campaign, a local questionable company by the name of Next Wave Strategies was selected to go door to door checking on county citizens' vaccine status, which is a travesty in itself. But at the same time, many suspect that this initiative served a second ulterior purpose of collecting valuable voter data that county Democrats would use to leverage a stronger position in the coming elections. So again, that is citizen tax dollars being used in what appears to have been ultimately to unfairly position Texas Democrats, placing them in a superior position in coming elections. Finally, a concerted effort was made to attain a considerable control over county elections by local establishment officials in what was known as the Elections Task Force, where certain political officials would have an overwhelming control over elections. Very questionable activities, very suspicious activities. But finally, we're going to move today to the latest chapter in this saga. This saga where we're constantly questioning the ethics and the morals and the actions of our locally elected officials. This is not normal. This is not right. We should not wake up with this. We should not go to bed with this constant concern. Wake up with this constant concern. What are the people that we elected? What are their true purposes? What are their real motives? Can we trust them? They have control over our county funds. They have control over our county infrastructure. They have control over our county emergency services. And we go to bed at night wondering what their real intentions are. This is not good. This is not healthy. And we're going to move to the next chapter in this saga. And I'm going to move here to Click to Houston. Click to Houston reports Harris and Fort Bend County leaders spending campaign dollars on criminal defense attorneys' latest filing shows. And just to let you know, both Lena Hidalgo, who is the county executive for Harris County, and KP George, who is the equivalent, the county executive for Fort Bend County, both find themselves in a legal mess. Okay, and that's a statement in itself. And we can't cover all this lawlessness. We only have 60 minutes on this short show. Can't go into it all. This ongoing drama never ends. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this first paragraph of this Click to Houston, and just listen to this one paragraph and how revealing it is. Listen to this, guys. 1 second, I gotta make the font a little bit larger because I don't have my glasses on. Here is the first sentence. Campaign dollars are being used for criminal defense attorneys is a practice KPRC2 investigates, first encountered during our investigation into over 1,000 pieces of African art being stored in a Harris County maintenance shed. Okay, there you go, guys. This local news organization was discovering that our county officials were housing exotic art. And the first question is, okay, how did they pay for that? Okay. And while they're uncovering that question, they find out that it appears that our local officials are using campaign dollars to pay for their defense funds. Now, I want to explain this to everybody, okay? When you contribute to a campaign, you're contributing to get a good and honest person elected because you agree with their message. You agree with their background. You agree with their ideas. It's an honest and genuine act to go ahead and send your campaign dollars to one candidate. But when they take this money and then they put it towards a criminal defense fund for themselves, Hollywood could not write a script that is this bizarre, okay? This is just way out there. I'm going to move on to this article. It's a questionable legal practice that others have relied on. 1 second here, guys. A review of recent campaign finance reports for Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo and Fort Bend County Judge KP George show that both spent thousands of campaign dollars on criminal defense attorneys. And there you go, guys. So, by the way, what this this local news station here, KPR2 did, is they throw President Trump and they throw Ken Paxton in there to sort of like equate it, right? They're watering it down a little bit. Hey, really, there's nothing to see here. They all do it. That's a tactic, okay? But this is red-handed, right? I mean, so here you go, guys. It's KPRC2. Click to Houston. Click to Houston.com. You can find that article. And that's the latest drama in the ongoing saga of Fort Bend County. Again, we used to be a sleepy county. We used to be a sleepy Texas town, country folk, country living, drinking lemonade on the porch. The things that Fort Bend County used to get excited about was the county football game, the county fair. And now it's just one saga after another where they're, pushing a sexual agenda on our children, or they're using their campaign funds for defense attorneys, or they're knocking on your door, checking your vaccine status, or they're shutting down your business with a pen, just a swipe of a pen. They're shutting down businesses with the Wuhan shutdown. It's one drama after another, and that bouncing ball of coincidences always appears to bounce in one direction, which is the erosion of your rights and the further strengthening of their hold on this county, but it appears things aren't really going in their way any further. So, a lot to talk about on today's show. And this is Chris Heasley, and you're watching The Chris Heasley Show. And on this show, we will bring you all of the ideas, the content, the information that you need to take back your village, your borough, your school district, your city, your county, our Texas counties, your state, the great state of Texas, and your country. But with this show comes an obligation, and the obligation is on you to get involved at the local level, because at the local level you get the best bang for your buck. And if we can get county citizens to get active at the local level, then all of this nonsense goes away. And by the way, the county establishment does not want you to get active at the local level. They want you to get back on your couch, elbow deep in the bag of potato chips, watching the Monday Night Football, go back to sleep. That's what they want you to do. So it's your choice. You can either be a part of the greatest times, some of the greatest times since the creation of man, some of the greatest times in the state of Texas history. You can be a part of it right now by getting involved at your school board meetings, getting involved at your county commissioners' courts, calling your representatives, both the ones you agree with and the ones you don't agree with, and telling them what you think. You can get involved and be a part. In the spirit of 1836, you can be a part of saving our great state. And on today's show, we have two incredible guests. First, we have Swapan Deriyawan with IAC. Okay? Did I get your name right?
Yes, correct, Chris.
Awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Good deal. And Swapan was with IAC. IAC is the Indian Asian Conservatives of Texas. I'm a resident of Fort Bend County, and I can tell you that IAC plays a considerable role in the freedom movement in the county of Fort Bend County, one of the most critical counties in the state of Texas, and our Indian population is fully immersed in that movement, and we certainly appreciate them. And you're also a local CPA, is that correct?
Yes, correct, Chris.
Awesome. Great. And we have Pastor David Dow. Did I pronounce your name right?
David Dale. Yes.
Dale. Okay, very good to me. Good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Right.
Same here.
And so with that being said, I want to move back to Swapan. Swapan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about IAC, and tell me about. Let's start off with that.
Okay, sure. I can go with that. Thank you, Chris, for hosting me, of course. Good morning to you, Dale. Thank you. It's a great morning out over there. And of course, to talk to you, I'm back to this show. Of course, I hear you a lot. It's been doing great guns within the community. Thank you for doing what you do. It's so important for bringing back not only the local things, but the state back and the country back. And that is what we got started. Let me give you some brief about myself. I am an immigrant. Of course, came here by the legal route. In 1999, I've been a CPA since 2004. Have my own practice for the last 21 years plus. Have a full-scale office with people and staff around. I have been involved in the community at the different levels, right from culture to language to music to different other associations which I have been part of in various leadership roles, the Chamber of Commerce, all of them kind of a thing. Done it all, did it all. The this is something that I got involved in 2018, though by heart and by background, I have been a conservative and always voted as a Republican. The coming out sense came out in the year 2018 and 19 when we saw the Beto effect in Fort Bend County and how it swung the entire electorate in that county. That's the time in 2019 that we incorporated the Indo-American Conservatives of Texas, which is an organization in the last 5 years, which has made a deep understanding within the community. It has gone beyond its lens, and I'll talk about that later, what they have done, the shows, the events, and all of that. But the mission has been the same thing, to mobilize voter registration, to mobilize conservative values, which our community has close to our heart. And we believe strongly in faith. We believe in God. We believe in the Constitution. We do not want to be part of a socialist state from where we have kind of come back from. And we have seen how the opportunities get so diminished when we were in those kind of backgrounds. It has changed. The entire country has changed. India has changed tremendously. But that is what we have run away from. And we don't want those kind of things which have been led by the right agenda. The left agenda, which has been percolating in our communities so strongly. So that being the case, if anything more you want me to add up, I can, but otherwise I'll.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, when I first got involved with the freedom movement in Fort Bend County, I was a Facebook warrior, keyboard warrior on Facebook. I put that down because that wasn't working. I stepped out into my community, and the first group that I met was the Indian American community in Fort Bend County. And they, in the spirit of 1776, they are fiercely fighting for freedom. And I have been impressed by that since the beginning because, of course, the left, the establishment, they were banking on you to go left wing. And my mother-in-law is an immigrant, and I was with her during that whole process of her going through the naturalization process. Every step of it is filled with left-wing propaganda, and it's impossible to go through that process without it having an impact on you. And so that's where we have the tough work, because then people like you and myself, right, we're now realizing that they had the high ground on us, right?
Yes.
They had the message already in place before we were even knowing that we were in a battle. They were already winning the battle, and then we had to pull all of those ideas out of the ideas of those left-wing ideas out of the community and reinforce them with patriotic ideas. We're going to talk more about that.
Sure.
David, tell me about yourself.
All right. Well, once again, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here. Well, interestingly, I'm a former candidate for state rep. I ran in District 76. Background, I'm an accountant. I went to the University of Massachusetts. So I started working as an auditor with one of the big fours in the accounting world. After that, I got a law degree. I went to law school, and started practicing. Did some work in family law court, landlord-tenant matter, and this was in Massachusetts. So after a while, got married, and then at some point we moved here. I'm heavily involved with the church community. And actually one of the things that dragged me into politics is seeing some of the things that is going on. Of course, I'm a servant at heart, helping people locally, helping people within the groups, the charitable groups that we're supporting. But something happened here in this state some years downwards when a mayor of Houston actually demanded that all religious leaders have to turn in their sermon notes to the government. I don't know if you guys heard about, yeah. So it really sent shock waves, through the religious community, that the government is demanding that, preachers, pastors, religious leaders turn in their sermon note. Of course, the mayor had a very strong leaning towards a certain group.
Now, this happened
And-
back in Nigeria, right? There's no way this happened in the United States.
right.
No, come on. That did not happen in
right here,
Texas.
Look it up, right here in Texas. And that's, I think, when reality dawned that, wow, so it is actually possible to be trying to do all these great things for the community, and then one bad politician can come in and wipe out everything. Just with the stroke of a pen. And it's like a rude awakening that, no, we got to step into the ring. Like you, I've complained, and I see that complaint gets you nothing. And another thing that actually happened recently that also gave me the drive is a situation with my kindergarten son. I have a son that is in kindergarten, and he joined the library club, and then they gave him a book. This is a young, 5-6-year-old boy, and they give him a book, and there's nothing wrong with the book from the library, but I have a policy in my house: before my kids read a book, I have to read it first. There's a lot of crazy things going on, so I have to read it first. So I started reading the book, just looking at it, just picture of a young, macho, strong guy. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you're giving that to a boy. That's great. And then I started flipping, page 2. Okay, good. The guy's now flipping trains and, doing heavy stuff. And then by the time you get right in the middle, I saw that this macho, strong character is now in dress. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I mean, I respect whatever people do. People can do whatever they want. But for a 6-year-old boy, isn't this indoctrination? So it further just made me resolve that, we have to be involved. We cannot just be on the sideline. We cannot complain. Complain will get you nothing. So that's what drove me actually, and many more reasons that drove me into, getting involved in politics. So I think that's it essentially. Background in accounting, attorney, and then now I'm a pastor. I'm an associate pastor at my local church.
Well, yeah, I think that they're always pushing a political narrative subtly. This is, again, evil genius, and they're doing it at the children of their formative years. And there absolutely was a hypersexualization movement being deployed on our children, and they were doing it in overdrive in Fort Bend and Harris counties. I mean, what we found in the libraries, how they attempted to diffuse that situation, subvert that situation, how our local county judge attempted to get the masks on the kids when he had no business going there. But my family is Russian, and there is a largely anti-Russian theme that comes through all of our children's books. And it's disgusting. And it's in the comic books. The Russians are always the evil guys. They're always the bad guys. And it's just constant. And after you keep hearing that, and every Russian that I meet is just a great person. What you realize is that there is an effort for the resources of the largest landmass in the world, which is Russia. And it's nothing more than that. It is this globalist agenda for worldwide domination. It is this billionaire class. They have too much money. They're ungrounded. They have sinister ideas, and they want that Russian land. They want that resources. And so, it's like you read this stuff and you say, hey, well, why is this superhero now put in a dress? These are wicked ways that we're in. We're going to talk about all that stuff, but gentlemen, I want to ask you, okay, so I started off this whole show, and essentially what my message has been since the beginning is that there's no way that all of these events, which always go in the way of totalitarianism, they always go in the way of a loss of freedoms, they always go in the way where our county officials become the new tiny dictators, our state officials become the millionaire bureaucrats, so on and so forth. This is not coincidences. This is a concerted effort. And so I laid it out here where I show this over again, one country after another, and then I bring it home to Texas. And I want everyone to understand that if my suspicions are correct, this is treason, right? If county officials actually used their official office to go against the freedoms of the people, go against the interests of the people, that's an act of treason. That's big time.
Yeah.
And so my question for you is, do I have it right? What do you think?
So, Chris, I did read the article in the Houston Cron as well about the KP George thing. And it's sad in the way in which it has been coming out. It's been years that all this thing have been happening. And this thing surfacing now during the last election cycle when Taral Patel ran the campaign against Andy, and all these things about using the racist comments, using a fictitious name, using all the aliases which are there, and showing that you are one against the community kind of a thing, that really plays into a very, very crude form of making yourself win.
That's right.
I'm so sad reading that, and kind of a thing, the way in which they are using these funds, which you rightly said, which are campaign funds, because I do write the campaign funds to some of the people who I believe have a faith, because I have to go through the process that they have done their checks and balances kind of a thing. Are they passionate about doing their jobs? So after making that effort, then is when someone writes a check to them. And if those campaign funds, which are, of course, there is a norm that they have to be reported to the state and the FAC and all of that kind of a thing, those are being used for their criminal defense attorney fees, which is 100K, which I read in the Houston Cron article. The same way with Lina Hidalgo, which is the chief executive for Harris County. That's not right. Something is wrong somewhere. And they would have a take on that. Yes, of course, this is just like my insurance kind of a thing, that I am being sued by these tens of people and I'm doing my job right. And why not? But that's not right. As a community, as an electorate person, those are not insurance for you. It is because you did something wrong, which is still in the court. It will be proven. No doubt about it. It will come out today or tomorrow. But being able to use the campaign funds, that's not right.
Well, what you have a cornered animal. I mean, KP George is desperate. Lina Hidalgo, they're desperate at this point. I mean, again, 4 years ago, KP George was the king of Fort Bend County.
Yeah.
I mean, again, with the swipe of a pen, he was shutting down businesses. With the swipe of a pen, he was having a mask placed on your child's face, whether you liked it or not. It was a state of pure lawlessness. He was attempting to get our officers disattached from the law and attached to his own personal dictates. Okay, and by doing that, what he's doing is he's like frog hopping. He's leaping over state legislatures because the state legislature is the right law. The county bureaucrats, they're down low on that totem pole. So the legislature writes laws. The officers can only do what the law says. KP George was removing them, getting the officers to report to them, and jumping the line of state legislatures. I mean, it was working. And so he went from being the boss of Fort Bend County, and due to citizen activism by groups like IAC, groups like Freedom Matters Action Group, by this citizen activism, he is now a cornered animal, desperate, throwing Hail Mary passes, using campaign funds to pay his legal fees because he's got no choice at this point. David, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, what we read and what we see about KP George. Fort Bend County is one of the most diverse community. I mean, I think it's probably number one in the entire U.S.
It is number one in the nation.
There you go. So to devise this tactics, actually, it's just unhealthy for a community such as this, to, fake Facebook attack on yourself and try to pin it on someone else. It's just absolutely low. And honestly, if he is found guilty, there's only one response, and that is that he should step down and do the honorable thing. And it's unfortunate. The issue about spending campaign finance, it's actually more of an issue of morality versus reality. Morality in the sense that when a person donates to a campaign, actually, as you said earlier, really, they're not donating for you to run or for you to defend a criminal case against you. They're investing in the candidate. They're hoping you're going to buy yard signs. They're hoping you're going to use it for political ad and the like. And I read an article recently that before KP George's indictment, he was able to bring in thousands of dollars. Right after that indictment, he only got $30. $30. Donations stopped. People are not interested, and obviously, people are not interested in putting their money to defend, a potential criminal case. The issue is it morally wrong? Yes, it is. People don't want it. They don't want their money going to that. But I say reality because the law actually does not say that it is wrong. Oh. Yeah, legally speaking. As a matter of fact, there's a Texas Election Code 253 that says or that allows them to do it so long as it's not used for personal purpose or used for family-related expenses. If it has something to do with activity relating to the candidate or their candidacy or while they are in office, they are allowed to do that. But again, I say it's an issue between the morality of doing it and then the reality. People don't like it, but in reality, it's not illegal.
Well, the moral issue of the day, right? So we hear since the beginning of time, the Texas Democrats have their finger pointed in all directions. Mm-hmm. Anyone who opposes them is the racist. Mm-hmm. And they are supposedly the arbiters of morality, right? No, they're on the high pedestal. They will deem who is moral and who is immoral. They're doing this day in, day out. And you have one of the rising stars of the Texas Democrat parties, a man who they were putting their hopes on. He was Lena Hidalgo in the waiting. He was the next coming star. He had his ambitions in sight on higher office. And here he was taking the people that vote for him and maligning them by creating these fake Facebook profiles and labeling the people that vote for him as bigots. And he was doing it because of the fact that we are the most diverse county in the country. And he saw opportunity in that division where most of us embrace the idea of diversity. He sees opportunity. He's an opportunist. Mm-hmm. And so here you have at the heart of the Texas Democrats where they're laying this accusation at every one of us. It's actually them. They are the culprits. Right. They are the ones who have these racist ambitions. Mm-hmm. And I think it's time that they could be called out.
Absolutely.
So, Palmer, were you going to say something?
Exactly.
And fellas, feel free to jump in. This is a three-way conversation.
Real quickly, I just wanted to add that, I call this like the King Saul effect. I think KP George started 2018, and he must have started like every other politician, begging for votes. And
he started before that, just to correct you, because the Fort Bend School District he ran.
Oh, yes,
for previous
that's right.
4 years.
What year did he run? Yeah. What year was that?
Just prior to the 2018.
That's correct. It was
14 and 16.
Right. Yeah. It was in the school board.
Yes, correct.
Before being
so it was
he
was not new.
Right. So he wasn't new in the game.
Yes.
I don't know much about it, but I know much about how he started. But I know that most politicians at the beginning they have this humble demeanor and just this niceness, pleading for votes, and then he won. He won in 2018.
Again, I'll say it's a better effect. It was nothing regarding credentials, nothing experience.
Right. So
there was a left.
It was a better effect.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? What does that mean?
Better okay.
Yeah, I know, but what do you mean by that?
So it was just everything which happened in Fort Bend, because it was a better effect, the entire country went blue. Entire county went blue.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Obama effect on the country was overwhelming. So it's amazing that trend's gone. That trend is
actually
dead.
A great astute congressman like Pete Olson, he was given a run by Sri Kulkarni, who was a nobody in the community.
Right.
So he was given a run. So imagine that. So that was the better effect which happened. And he succeeded. KP George succeeded.
Right.
Okay, so what you're saying.
Yeah,
The same
so
thing
Beto-
with Lena Hidalgo in Harris County
Yeah, I mean,
against Judge Ed Emmett.
Yeah.
An astute, great person who had been the most experienced
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Beto really did great damage, his candidacy here in Texas. So now you have a situation whereby, because my firm belief is, if you've been given a first term, that's your stepping stool to getting reelected. You must have done something that you can sell to the public. But it seemed to me that there's not much he accomplished in the first term, that he had to then go low to devising a divide and conquer strategy to try to win for his reelection. And I think, honestly, if found guilty, he needs to apologize, because I know, especially, from our community, a lot of people vote based on emotion. It's like the David and Goliath effect. You feel like you want the underdog to win. So coming out with that kind of thing, I'm sure there are a lot of people who came out just because of that, just to make a statement with their vote. So if proven guilty, if found guilty, I think he owes Fort Bend County apology, and to do the honorable thing by just simply stepping down.
Yeah. Well, okay, so David, I want to ask you, there's another state representative, Lulani, and he is our elected state representative out of my district, Fort Bend County, and I would say he's quite a leftist Democrat.
Absolutely.
And you ran in a primary to get the attempt to run against him, which
right.
you lost that primary.
That's right.
But tell me why you ran to take that seat away from Dr. Lulani, and what your opinion is of him as a state representative.
Well, unfortunately, like many leftists' agenda, terrible for the country. One of the things that Dr. Lulani, one of the things that really got me worked up is during this COVID-19 pandemic, he voted, there are several bills. One of those bills is the HB 44, which is essentially to protect Medicaid patients from being discriminated by, state-funded doctors. Instead of supporting citizens, instead of supporting our people, he voted no against it. I believe that bill passed. And also just bills relating to...
Wait, the bill, again, HB 44, was going to protect Medicare recipients, residents,
right,
from being discriminated against doctors.
State-funded doctors.
And
right.
he would not vote. And he is a doctor.
Yeah, that's right. He's a doctor.
And maybe that's why he voted against it.
Based on their vaccine status,
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
okay, you need to spell this thing out.
Right. Based on
so
their
what they're
vaccine status.
doing now is state-funded doctors, which means our taxpayers subsidize these doctors for lower-income people. And what Dr. Lulani, who's the state rep out of Fort Bend County, was saying is, you can use that doctor if you take one of Dr. Lulani's friends in the vaccine, and if you take the vaccine.
Essentially. And other things
that is totalitarian. That is big time.
That's very unfortunate. Other things that could have protect, our business.
Did he have campaign funders from the vaccine industry?
I'm not sure, but there's a high possibility.
Into.
Yeah, it should be looked into. Yeah.
So Chris, over there in that point, I would say that district, that was a newly redistricted thing which came up, HD 76, which came up at that point of time. Some point of time that in the primaries of the Republicans, we had 4 or 5 plus candidates over there. We would have done a better way in posing ourselves and having a unified approach rather than giving that seat away to Lulani, is what my take was. Just 2 cents on that.
Yeah, we certainly need to re-strategize.
Yes.
And bring everybody together and work together to reclaim that seat.
Well, okay, so what when Fort Bend County, the school district, was putting the masks on the kids, and parents were showing up and saying, you have no right to put a mask on my kids. And they're saying, well, if you want the kids to use the schools, you got to do it. Again, weaponizing the institutions that we fund against us. We pay for those schools. You cannot put some sort of criteria where you get to take my decision-making authority over my child away from me, and I have to give it to you to use a school that I pay for. Yeah. That's the whole scam. That's the whole trick. And of course, I showed up and I lobbied hard against the masks. And they had a doctor show up. I think it was Dr. Lulani who showed up and talked about the need for masks. I think it was him. I'm almost certain. And so then they could say, oh, well, we had a medical doctor show up. Well, the one thing that this doctor didn't talk about was hypercapnia. So all of these kids were becoming hypercapnic, which is an overdose of carbon dioxide in your bloodstream because you have the mask on all day and you're sucking in your own CO2, which is a spent oxygen. It's a gas, and it's entering your bloodstream and having who knows what kind of effect on the children. I was a resident, and I'm researching this. I'm talking to nurses who are calling me and saying, say the word hypercapnic. Well, why didn't that doctor say something about hypercapnia? He's out there pushing the message of the medical industry, of big pharma.
Unfortunately. I understand there's actually another bill, SB 29, which is Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's legislation to ban government's COVID-19 mask, vaccine and closure mandate. Lalani did not vote to support it.
Okay, so Dan Patrick proposed a law that would ban a mandate on masks, a mandate on vaccines?
Mask, vaccine, and closure mandate, yeah.
Yeah, a mandate on vaccine, mandate on, and Lulani voted against that measure. So we know where his interests lie. I mean, again, their interests should lie with freedom. Their interests should lie with the residents of Fort Bend County, with not pulling this decision-making authority away from the resident and giving it to some executive out in pharma-land. It should be local. These guys live in our neighborhoods. Their kids attend our schools. They walk in our parks. We see them at the grocery stores. They are beholden to us, yet it appears that their interests are ultimately being held with big pharma executives. This is a travesty. Yeah. So, Swapan, tell me. I mean, we talked. You are a local resident. You're steeped in knowledge and information on this county that goes far beyond me. I've been here less than a decade, and certainly learned a lot because I got caught in a hailstorm here in Fort Bend County during this decade. But tell me what you want to talk about. I want to hear about your knowledge and your experience in Fort Bend.
Sure, I can. I'll just go about Indo-American Conservatives of Texas, about that. You asked me that question earlier. So when we were formed in 2019 kind of a thing, after that we have done multiple things to show ourselves within the community and to show people that come out of the closet. You need not be discriminated. You need not be labeled. You need not be said. Because the community, let me tell you, be frank about it. When the statistics ran, it was more or less 70+% of people were voting Democrats.
Is that within the Fort Bend?
Within the Indo-American community.
Indian community.
Yes, that's what it was. Those demographics have changed a little bit over the last two cycles kind of a thing. And this cycle, November, was totally different. So we are at close to maybe 50-50.
That is massive.
I would say. But the thing was, we did a lot of rallies. We did the Freedom Show Act radios over here and on the other radio stations. We did victory parties. We did debates. We made ourselves in front of people, in front of events, which this community has close to 150,000 plus people of Indian American origin who are staying in this county kind of a thing. So we made ourselves available to them and give them the message that your values that you're talking about, where you came from, just don't get labeled because Democrats means democracy. That's what not it is. You cannot intertwine those things. The other things was we had Kash Patel. We saw his nomination going through day before yesterday, was it? At the Senate and everything. So we had him at our gala in 2022 August. He was very candid about it. He said, in this entire country, this is the only group he has first time invited me for a speaking session.
Wow.
And we are more than 3 million Indian Americans living in the United States. So that was something that we could boast about. So other thing which I would like to mention is I was just about at the inauguration in DC, just past weekend kind of a thing. It was really heartwarming to see the connectiveness, and we were the only 2 Indians in the room, let me tell you. At one of the victory balls that we were at. So we had the border czar over there. We had Larry Elder. We had Sheriff Lamb and bunch of other people kind of a thing. But these were the keynote speakers over there, and they were talking about it. What we felt is we have to be involved. As you said it rightly earlier.
Absolutely.
As a community, we need to be involved. Unless and until we get involved in the values that we are, do some block walking. We have great captains over here. Do something involved, because I got started very low. I just became a precinct chair in our Telfair neighborhood, precinct 3 kind of a thing. That's where I got exposed. And from there, eventually the GOP started recognizing me. And then I was on the finance committee and everything else kind of a thing. Now I have taken a little back step on that. But yes, the cause is right. I will be there for it. I have done those block walkings all the time. I know you from back there as well.
That's right.
So that being the case, it's lovely that we see Fort Bend coming back, and we want to keep this momentum.
And, like you said, I'm also a precinct chair. And one of the reasons why people are actually shifting now is because everybody's tired. Your community, like many communities in the U.S., they understand when they go to grocery stores and see that, the cost of things are rising. They understand that the quality of living is changing. So that's why you see people actually from all communities shifting to the right. And I foresee that we're going to see a lot more shifting.
Exactly. And one person at a time. That's what I say. We are doing one person at a time. We need not be just brainstorming on them. We just bring them the facts, which are little facts. Just like you said, the price of egg and bread. What's happening? What's happening at the gas stations? What's happening everywhere in your schools? The small things which change, that will make the decision and the vote in.
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I was in a gas station. I struck up a conversation with a woman there. She was ethnic. She was an Eritrean woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she just said, I can't take this anymore. This rising prices, I feel like there's no end to it. And she told me that she was getting together with a group of ethnic Africans to begin becoming activists. They didn't know what they were going to do. They had no game plan other than to meet that evening. So I agree with you, And another thing I like to say is that it was the Indian community that at one point in time had the largest Trump rally in the country. In the country. So they had 2 Trump rallies. They had one in India, and then they had one here in Houston.
Howdy Modi.
And Indians from all over the world came to the one here in Houston. Yeah. It was 60,000 people.
60,000 people.
Prime Minister Modi flew in for it. It was so big.
Yes.
And it was the record for the longest time until Erie County, Pennsylvania had a Trump rally, and they had like 60,000 plus one, which was interesting because there's only 60,000 people in Erie County.
Exactly.
But the Democrats still won the state of Pennsylvania, which shows you, what kind of games they're playing. But yeah, so the Indian community, I mean, they are a force in the freedom movement.
Yes, and the thing is, the community is so diverse, and they love the values which the Republican community holds for, kind of a thing. But even in spite of that, they don't ask the favors, as we say. Okay, they elect the electors, but they do not ask any favors back. That's what the problem is. Sometimes I would say you need to be at the table.
Absolutely.
That's important too.
And like I said, your community, like many other communities, really, when you strip it down and you first put aside the party affiliation and you begin to probe and talk to people, you see that actually people in most communities, even my community, are very conservative. Very, very conservative. Yeah. But like you said earlier, it seemed like the Democrats have done a great job. Like it's from from their visa interview or from their naturalization, you see Democrats, handing them information, telling them they are Democrats, and the like. But when you peel back the onions and you actually sit these people down, they are family first people. They embody the same conservative values that we all embody, but they just don't know yet. And with time, like you said, one person at a time, I think we'll see major shift coming.
Well, if you look at the Pakistani community, the Democrats, the American establishment left, put together a fund, our own tax dollars, to send to Pakistan to gender reassign Pakistani boys into girls, right? To do some pretty gross stuff over there.
In Pakistan or here?
They sent money to Pakistan for that purpose.
Wow.
It was back when they were sending money to the Ukraine, everywhere else. Of course, it all goes back into their own campaign funds.
This is the Biden regime.
But my point being is that, yes, there was our tax funds that were sent to Pakistan for gender reassignment surgeries. And when you tell that to a Pakistani, oh, my God, they get so mad. They get so mad because, of course, they're family-oriented, too. And they don't want this sick business, these sick ideas put in Pakistan, which I think that they're afraid that those ideas do penetrate their culture. And so, yeah, I have to agree with you. Everybody in the world has a concerted effort to reject this leftist progressivism, this communist Marxism, sick ideology that has permeated the minds of so many of our people. I consider it a sickness. But with that being said, I think that we are on the cusp of the greatest time in mankind's history. I think what we did is we fought the battle, right? And we fought it politically. We fought it peacefully. We did all the things that were mentioned here in your community, in the Fort Bend community. We did these things when times were tough, and I feel like the tough times have passed.
But don't rest on the laurels. Don't rest on the laurels.
I'm trying to give everyone a message of hope.
Exactly.
Yes, we got to punch that football through the end zone.
We
There's
have
no question.
We have to be vigilant all the time.
I'm going to tell you one other thing. I think that even a lot of these, because I've been told by county Republicans to sort of lighten up on the county Democrats, because there's a lot of them that were sort of going along with the game because their employment check was dependent on it, but they didn't want the game. And I've been told that a lot of these Democrats, county Democrats, are glad to see these perverse ideas go away. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm a no compromise Constitution 1776. Give me freedom or give me death, American. But what I'm trying to say is I think that everybody's ready for a new change. It is not normal for men to be at each other's throats. It is the chemistry built in our bodies is for us to go down the water together. That's where go with the water together, to get along, to be friends, to be neighborly. And I feel like we're on the cusp of something great, both economically, both politically. I feel like the war agenda is seeing the end of its days. I know it's hard to believe because we're in the darkest times, but I think you have to touch the fire to know how to get burnt. And I don't see anybody pounding the fist for more war other than the bureaucrats themselves. And they have to have the political people, they have to have the people behind them, and they are not. Guys, give me your assessments.
So one more thing I forgot about, since you mentioned earlier about the CPA thing, I'd like to say about the tax angle kind of a thing. I'm just a little bit happy because the Trump tax cuts, which we used to say are going to expire in 2025, it may not be expiring now that we have the House and the executive and of course the Senate back. So we will see a lot of reforms in there. The last big reform was the 86-9 with Reagan times. The Trump tax cuts, which came in 2017, were pretty decent, I would say. And we expect to see something more because that is going to affect, as you said, the person across at the gas station who is not able to make their meets end kind of a thing. It's going to be important for businesses. It's going to be important for enterprises who are struggling. It's going to be so very important because tax is the main thing, because that's where everything boils down to. The freebies and the subsidies, somehow or the other, that's going to come up to play in this entire scheme of things.
There is an argument that's arising right now where the whole concept is that prior to this progressive Marxism hitting our country, it was all America first with presidents like President McKinley, President Calvin Coolidge. And what they did is they used tariffs to protect our industry And so what the globalists left did is they removed those tariffs. They started an education campaign to tell us the tariffs were bad. And then they implemented in its place the income tax, which is a cancer. So now no longer our industry is not protected, but they're going to begin eroding our income with no limits put on it. And so when President Trump comes and says and throws up the idea
External Revenue Service
of eliminating
That's right.
the income tax, which you wouldn't say that unless you mean business. And I mean, he's a big ideas guy, and all things can happen. Tell me what you think about that?
So that's very important, as it was said, External Revenue Service. Let's see how it goes. It has to be a structure. It's not going to come within a year's time, that kind of a concept, but it will come. If it comes, let's see how it goes, because tariffs have played big roles. And I hear that February the 1st, China, Mexico and Canada, it's going to happen, the tariffs, right? That's going to happen. So as regards to Internal Revenue Service, I don't see that going away. That's my take on it. I still feel that will stay, but some reforms are needed. The code is too exhaustive. I remember when I started my practice way back, the forms used to be 6 pages or something like that. Now, it's a disaster. It's 32 pages minimal for any tax return to be done. It's a time robber. It's a because
a violation
we
of
have
the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
so
let
much
me check.
things.
Let me
that
see
we-
how much money you got in your pocket. You know,
There's so much compliance in there. There's so much tweaks in there. So much things which have to be matched. It's not easy, and people just think that off the shop someone does it on the street and he does a good job. No, it's not what that is. You need to know what your rights are. The devil is in the details of it. The code has been expanded and expanded every day. We have to take by default 40 credit hours every year. It's so exhausting that we have to keep in compliance with that kind of a thing, because the tax code isn't easier anymore.
I mean, we could talk about this. This conversation.
This
could
will
go
be
down so many
another
roads.
topic for another
No, I
day.
mean, it's like I know so many ideas are popping in my head right now. I mean,
Someone said
that
if Trump could actually the whole External Revenue Service idea, if he could push that, he would go down as the best president ever in this nation.
It's an amazing idea.
Because the
man.
truth is that taxes affect everybody. You know, that's an idea that everybody can rally around. And, you know, if you look at some nations of the world and nations that are actually doing very well, a lot of the Gulf nations, Dubai's and
The fair tax and the consumption tax.
So you see that what he's saying is actually, what they're doing over there. So they don't have federal income taxes in many of these nations. So if he could do that, I think he would go down in history as one of the best president. And one of the things that, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or in between, the fact that Trump's presidency sends ripples, amongst the warmongers. I think before he even got sworn in, things have started changing.
Israel.
The war stopped there. Ukraine and Russia. I know very soon that's also going to be history. And the truth is that the average person doesn't like war. In Ukraine, I think maybe there are close to 50,000 people, or if not more, that have died, and yet they're still not going to join NATO. They're still not going to get it.
It's a big lobby. It's a big lobby.
Yeah, so it's like you just wasted so many lives for what?
Yeah.
But that's the Trump effect, that all of these things are changing and we can see it.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been a great hour, and I really appreciate both your time. I mean, this conversation is just getting good. I wanted second hour, but unfortunately we don't get one. But yeah, I really do appreciate it. Swapan, your full name, please.
I'm Swapan Dhairevan. With
IAC?
the Indo-American Conservatives of Texas, resident of Sugar Land, and of course, I've been in the community for past 24 years.
And how do people find out about Indian American Conservatives of Texas?
It's www.iactx.org. Just reach out to me, 281-382-0348.
And David, I have a question. Will we see you campaigning again for that state rep position?
Well, I'm still consulting right now, but I'm going to be around. I'm going to be
Good
around.
deal. And is there somewhere where people can learn more about you?
I actually have a website. It's Dire David for HD76.com. You can get more information about me there. And I'm on Facebook. Not very strong on Facebook, but I'll be getting back to you. So you can find me on Facebook as well.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank both of you for showing
Thank you
up
so
today.
much, Chris, for having us this morning.
you.
Appreciate whatever you do
Both.
for
I
the
appreciate
community.
you. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I want to say thank you to the Micon Network, Radiodabang FM
Radiodabang.
99.5 for allowing us to extend this message of freedom across the airwaves of Fort Bend and Harris counties. And we will be here next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. with one more hot topic. Hope to see you then.